Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on May 31st, 2022 at approximately 6:39 a.m. PST. So, shall we get your home in order today? Okay, and what I mean by that, well, actually, before I get into that, okay, I returned to this world, to this lifetime, at this particular point in time for one primary reason. And that is to pass on a simple message to people. Okay, to everyone in existence. That message being quite literally, working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. However, it is up to all of us to pitch together and do it. Now, I call myself a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the same tools that I personally use. Okay, the life philosophies I talk about are the ones I personally live by. Okay, and in simplest terms, I only follow three laws. Be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. And energy out, energy in. But to be clear, take a look at all the legal laws. Take a look at the spiritual laws and guidelines you live by. I would, it's a very good bet. And if you find one that doesn't fit, thus far, every one of those that I've looked at has fit inside the three I follow. Okay, laws are a necessary thing. But in order to get your life running properly, now, you start with the brain. Okay, even in your home, that's the one link, the primary link. The brain in your home is the same as the brain in your house. Okay, the heart in the home, on the other hand, is your dining room, living room, and kitchen combined. It's a three-chamber heart. Okay, so now I've talked about the first trick is to realize that is to decide whether you're content with the way your life is, with the way your home is running. In my case, I'm really not. However, this is why I go through things. Now, the first step is to decide whether or not you're content. If you're not content, this comes in real convenient. Okay, this is a list I keep of things that I've got set up to do today. I put my date down and I list off tasks. Every one of these tasks is 15 minutes to half an hour in length. Okay, now my office is already reasonably set up, although it is on the list because there's things that really have to go away. Things like a simple pen belongs over there, but it will wait. Okay, now here's one of the dead giveaways. I showed this to you the other day. I'm going to have to deal with that, but showed this to you the other day. When I first got this, now plants for me don't survive usually. This one's an oddity, but then I've been straightening out the energy in my house. In my house and in my home. When I got this, it had a whopping 11 leaves. Right now it's got over 20 if you start taking a look at the little leaves that are like right here. Okay, the new buds and what have you. When I counted up, I think it was yesterday I counted, I've got 20 or 21 leaves on it. So it is growing, and this is the thing. Okay, you get the energy first of all, get the energy in the brain of your home working. That boils down to getting the clutter out of the way. So I was going through old files to get rid of this stuff because that's clutter. And when I'm talking old files, I'm talking about files that are literally almost 20 years old. The oldest one I think I found was 2004. But these are files I do not require. They're old paperwork that does not exist. I found an expired credit card from, I don't know, probably 15 years ago. So I am in the process of clearing out the clutter. Okay. And yeah, I've had enough of this. I think what I'm going to do, which I know my other half is going to be happy about, because you've noticed I end up, and this bothers me. So I'm still going to end up keeping my sideburns. To me, and I'm not entirely certain, but I think that is simply a connection with a connection to my father. He had sideburns, pretty much all the time I knew him, right? But I'm going to be getting all this cut back so that it doesn't hang down and bug my ears. And I think that's actually something to actually aim at pretty quick here. But I just got paid today, so that works out well. I may just go in and get that done today. I haven't quite decided. Possibly, no, I probably won't do it until tomorrow, simply because of the fact I don't feel like leaving the house today. And tomorrow being Wednesday is a day that I usually go down because, well, frankly, I like the special they've got for lunch and I hate cooking. That hasn't changed. Anyway, back to the reality of it. I've got my list here. I've got the energy in the office working. Okay, so I will be dealing with a number of things. I don't need that there. That should have been moved anyway. That's right out of range. I know that. This is an interesting thing you find out when you're going through old files and stuff that you forgot about. This particular document was handwritten in 1993. Okay, and I'm in the process of seeing if I can get quantifiable proof of what I wrote. Because this was like, as you well know, I am a working, I hate the term, but I'm a working psychic. Okay, but this particular document had to do with had to do with an encounter with a lady that was dying in the hospital in Vancouver, which is like 4 hours west of me. 3-4 hours, depending on who's driving. I may have found the young lass, and I've got word out to her already. If it turns out to be the right one, that's great. If it isn't, and I'm going to look for others, for other possibilities. But if it's not, if it's not her, then then I will keep looking. The neat part about it from my standpoint is if I can find proof of that, that would be absolutely remarkable. Well, we can safely say that one isn't. Yeah, that's not likely. But in any event, before I get myself sidetracked there, okay, when you've got gold laid out like this, I've got to do some work on. I've been putting things off. I'm going to be working on this. As you well know, at least I think you do, this is the hard copy of the end of Return to Paradise, which is the next book in the Yldrbac Chronicles. So I'll be working on that today. Okay, I've got a number of other projects that I've got to deal with, and the nice part about it is as you get stuff cleared out, like I think I told you about it. Almost a week ago now, we had a fire here. We had a fire in the apartment block. So I've gone and I've got a lot of the stuff that I really desire to keep out of my apartment and out in storage. Okay, I wasn't planning on it, but turned out it was kind of a necessary little commodity. So I went out and dealt with it. Right, so I've been moving stuff out, and when I mean the stuff I need that I require in storage, actual keepsakes, holiday decorations, right, and excess inventory that I've got. Okay, because with these books, that the one? Nope, it's the other one. This particular book, I keep enough in my office so I don't have to go looking for them. Come to think of it, I've got a couple of people I've got to contact today that have been asking about them. and I just gotta make sure that I get to people. Okay, but I keep enough in the office that I can just simply grab them and mail them, and then when I get low in the office, I'll go down to storage and get more. This way, I know what I'm dealing with. But it boils down to really getting things organized. Now, the other side of that is making certain that you stay focused. Now, one of the books that I'm working on is a book on success, on literally the formula for success. Now, I talk about this idea, you desire to run your home, you desire it to run smoothly. The tools I offer are not tools for if you're rich or if you're famous. It is strictly if you're breathing. If you're not breathing, we'll have to talk on a different level. Okay. And absolutely, there are other tools that can be used if you're not breathing. But that goes into the medium work, which, in all fairness, this tiny little document literally revolves around if I can find the person, there's enough detail in there that should enable me to track the person down. If I can find the person and corroborate what they went through, it becomes quantifiable proof of medium work. Okay. Now, don't get me wrong, from my standpoint, I'm much more interested in yes, I work in the medium, like in the metaphysical field. I do specialize in UFOs, abductions, that sort of thing. Okay, and I'm quite open to all of it. But I do my best to keep myself, I'm going to keep grounded in the material world. Okay, because there's no question. The material world, you can't take it with you. Okay, it's not going. You take the memory of it, you take thoughts of it, everything that you have that is physically existing isn't going with you. Okay. However, you do take the memories of them. Now, the whole issue around the home. Okay. I was actually just talking to my other half, and it dawned on me, because of situations, I'm going to make an adjustment to the balcony. Okay, but I've got to get the landlord to go ahead to do it. Okay, and that go ahead is simply a question of being able to put a screen up on the balcony to cut down to eliminate flies from the balcony so we can enjoy the balcony itself. There's no view out there. Okay, it's on the same wall as this window right here. So there's no view, and the reason there's no view is because there's plants blocking it, which is fine. Right. So what I'm looking at today, what have I got here? Get that out of the way. What I'm looking at today is getting this dealt with. Then I've got a whole pile of work to do as far as my writing goes. Not to mention some housework that's got to be done, but it's all on the list. Okay. And the reason that you do that is it's a coping mechanism or a tool. It's a way of working and making things happen. Now, the reality is, if I'm going to tell you the way to get the energy moving in your house properly is to clear the clutter out of the way, you'll notice that these shelves over here are no longer absolutely full. That's because, see these books right here? Okay, those ones are all obviously in print, but the surplus of them is now in storage. Okay, so what's happening here, and that's not entirely a bad idea. I'm just thinking, you see the cash box over here. Okay, where are we? I don't do that well. See that cash box right there? Now, here's a neat little trick, because the fact is, banks are not paying interest very well at all. However, if you've got a storage unit, and this is simply what I'm going to be doing, this isn't necessarily the best issue, the best idea. If you've got a storage unit, two major things happen. One, the theory is, and I definitely encourage this if it isn't, make sure you've got actual independent insurance on your belongings. Okay, but by putting things like, for instance, I'm going to set a container up out in my storage unit, so when I go out, if I've got loose change with me, I can drop it in there. And I'm just going to be dropping in things like loonies and toonies. Now, what that means is in 20 years, I could have a fair chunk of change out there. Now, why have a storage unit? If you've got an apartment, well, the primary reason is this: there's stuff that if this building goes up, now turns out the building I'm living in. Okay, I was under the understanding that this building was built in the 1970s. It wasn't. I looked it up. This particular apartment that I'm living in was built in 1992. Okay, and that means it's only 30 years old. But we've had fires in the apartment. Frankly, I don't feel like having to worry about that side of it. So one of the big things I'm going to be working on, oh, it's right there, is I will be taking zip drives like this one, okay, and putting real critical data, especially my writings, and getting them into my safety deposit box. I'm also going to be taking the extra change, as in loonies and toonies. Okay, and for those of you, and this may be an educational thing for you. Is this little item? Now, if you've never seen it before, okay, up in Canada, you see, in the States, you have, dollar coins, you've got 50-cent pieces, quarters, that sort of thing. Now we got quarters up here, but when a Canadian is talking about a loonie and a toonie, that's a loonie. Okay, and as you can see on the picture there, let's see if I can get the glow. That's one of the reasons why they call it a loonie, I think, is because it's got the loon. Now the toonie looks like this. Now the funny thing with the toonie that a lot of Canadians should remember, at least the ones my age. When they first built these, this is a 2-part coin, and they used to come apart. Okay, but they cured that problem. They don't come apart anymore. But those things, and here's the other side of it. Loonie, $1. Toonie, $2. Now they were talking a while ago about coming out with another regular coin and disposing of the $5 bill and simply making a $5 coin. I don't know whatever happened to that, but it hasn't come out yet. Okay, and that would probably be 10, 15 years back they were talking about that. But by taking the excess, and moving it out to storage, keeping enough here to work with, if I just take it out there and leave it there, then frankly, I've got that extra money just in case. Not only that, but when I do pass away for the final time, and I will eventually, the way I'm looking at it right now, I'm only 59. I've got, my parents lived into their 80s, which means, I'm almost 60, so I got at least another 20 years here, because both my parents lived until they were 81. Okay. Now, of course, my grandmother made 95, so I could have another 30 years here. Personally, I'm actually aiming for 137. Yeah, I know that's a bit of a stretch, considering the oldest one that I've seen on record recently was 122. The oldest person I ever heard of, probably about 40 years ago, was an African that was 149 years old when he passed. Okay. And, am I setting my goals really high? Absolutely. But then I only had 3 goals when I was growing up. Okay. The 3 goals I had growing up were, I desired to get off this backwoods mud ball. And that was quite literally not quite as impolite as what I put it, but that was close. Okay, well, I should have thought that one through and told them, "Don't bring me back." But have I been off of Earth? Absolutely. Am I an astronaut? No. I'm actually an abductee, as in picked up by aliens against my will. Now it's quite a regular thing, and it just doesn't bother me. And yes, I absolutely understand how twisted that probably sounds. But then, in all fairness, my life is more like science fiction than it is reality. Which is why, with this particular book, okay, with this particular book, every one of the races in here I have personally dealt with. Okay, as in face to face. Okay, I'm working on volume 2 right now, and I do have to get a message out to an individual that asked me about pricing and what have you. But don't want to knock that down. You know, so yeah, my life is very much like science fiction. One thing I showed you a while back, okay, and if you haven't done it, if you're still feeling a little off kilter, this is something you do in addition to whatever you're doing medically. This is not replacement. This is enhancement. Okay, when I had my arm broken, okay, and you can still see the scar, I think I've got it lined up about right. But it was a doctor that actually bolted that back into place. But by using the energy I work with, and the same energy you can work with, anybody that tells you, oh, you've got to be specially trained, I wasn't trained at all. Now, I'm an oddity, granted. Okay, but you don't have to have some sort of a license or some sort of recognition from other people. Every person in existence, okay, has this energy and can remember how to work with it. Okay, but you take your hands, if you put them just a quarter inch, maybe, about yay far apart, so you can still see between them. You concentrate on that energy, because you will feel it. What you call it is up to you. Okay. But as you do that, you'll feel the energy level climb, and you keep one word in your mind. And that one single word is heal. Okay. And I have no idea what that word is in other languages. Sorry, you guys are going to have to figure that out. Okay. Out of curiosity, I have picked up bits and pieces of, obviously, English. Well, English I majored in. But in addition to English, I've picked up some or bits and pieces, usually only a few words, in French, Spanish, German. I know a couple of words in Russian, Japanese. Needless to say, if you know Spanish, you probably know a little bit or can function a little bit with Italian. I know some American Sign Language and Hausa. And here's the silly thing with Hausa. Hausa is a northern Nigerian trade language. I was born in grade 8. Not born. Bored in grade 8. So I taught myself bits and pieces of it. Okay. And the only reason I can think of was I was bored because in my world, borders didn't make a lot of sense. I was taught growing up you couldn't draw a line in a sandbox and call and say you're not allowed to go there. Well, to me, it never made sense when I went into kindergarten and they started, and when I got into school and people started talking about borders on paper. It didn't make a lot of sense. Right. Now I understand it, although I still have a twisted view on it. But drawing a border on a piece of paper at the time I was going to school did not add up. If you can't draw a physical line in a sandbox, how can you draw an imaginary line across a country and say that's a border? How do you pull that one off? It never made sense to me, so I'd get bored. Okay, but in my world at this point, I am clearing out the clutter. I'm getting things organized. Like yesterday, this box was full of paperwork. But this box was full of paperwork for 2004. Okay, 2004 to 2010. I don't need paperwork I do not require paperwork from back in the early 2000s. It just is not a requirement. Okay, so because I got the income tax up to date this year and got all of that straightened out, now I'm disposing of everything I don't require before that because it's already been done. I'm not going back to do it again. Okay, but I am doing my best to make certain everything is taken care of. Okay, so when we're talking about straightening your home, okay, you literally take a look at the clutter in your house. Now, for me, I'm getting rid of a lot of the clutter. The bottom shelf, by the way, over here, you can't see it, but it used to be full of books. Okay, it's now half of them are gone, and there's another box there that I can see that's got to go because the surplus is going. It's kind of like you can just see the stack of file folders. It's right here. It will be cleared out. But this has to do with the energy flow of my home. Okay. I'm not referring to the finances on the whole. Okay, I'm just getting the clutter out of the way. And the reality is there's a couple of tools I have picked up. Okay, a couple of necessary. I'm not against technology. I definitely have an issue around technology not working very well. But that's okay. When somebody was kind enough to compromise my credit card, here's a simple message for whoever compromised my credit card. It's been canceled. You can't use the number you got anymore. Okay, that's caused some interesting fiascos, but thanks very much for not dealing with that properly. The credit card has been replaced. I'm just waiting for it to come in. I'm very happy to say that now that I've got my license all sorted around, I can leave. I got rid of the interim license and medical cards, because now I've got the actual ones back. Okay, they had to be updated because of that time of year. Okay, but with that in mind, okay, from my standpoint, it's a real simple issue. Procrastination is great for postponing things, but it doesn't get you very far. Okay, so I'm literally making a definitive effort. And look at that. I didn't pay attention to what was going on. Anyway, if you liked the video, give us a thumbs up, do subscribe to the channel, and please share the daylights out of it. Because we've got to get this message out to everyone in existence. That working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I will be back again tomorrow. But until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.